Hey everyone, I'm out here in the garage with the Acura RL once again, and what we're going to be doing today is replacing the rear cam plugs. So stay tuned. So what we're going to tackle today is we're going to replace the rear cam plugs on the Acura RL. Now, I'm actually going to do the driver's side in this video, and the passenger side is identical, so I'm only going to do one side. The driver's side is the worst of the two. You can see on the back of the engine, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, is there actually is a leak on the exhaust manifold. You can see the oil residue build up back there, and it's pretty bad on the driver's side. The passenger side, like I said, is not terrible, but I have to replace that at some point too. So let's get into it. Before starting this procedure, check out the videos that I made on replacing the valve cover gaskets on the Acura RL. Those will get you to the point from which we're going to pick up in this video. Alright, so what we're going to be doing is replacing the rear cam plug, which is back there. And a telltale sign that you have a rear cam plug leak is you'll notice a bunch of oil pooling on the exhaust manifold, right on the right hand side over here. So replacing the rear cam plug or seal is a little bit of a tricky proposition because the proper way to do this is to actually remove this assembly here. This is the rocker assembly. So you're supposed to remove that, and then you can get to the cam plug, put your new cam plug in, and then put your assembly back down. So the problem though is that you have to actually remove your timing belt in order to get the rocker assembly fully off. So what I'm going to do is actually lift the rocker assembly up. I'm going to say probably around 1/4 of an inch. We'll see how much space we need. And then I'm going to pull the cam plug out, put the new one in, and then secure the rocker assembly back down. One thing I wanted to mention is that there are some O-rings between the cylinder head and the rocker assembly that prevent oil from entering the spark plug tubes. Those O-rings can become brittle over time. So by lifting the rocker assembly in the described fashion, there's a possibility of disturbing those O-rings, causing a leak. Alright, so here's the rear cam plug. It's part number 12266PY3003. I happen to have a couple extras of these from a job I did before on the Acura Legend, so those are coming in handy right now. Alright, so to lift up the rocker assembly, there are a bunch of 10mm and 12mm. Stay away from these 14s here. Those are for the cylinder head, so you don't want to touch those. There is a specific order, so I'm just going to show you that order, then I'm just going to start loosening all the bolts. And you want to do this in 2-turn increments. Alright, so there's the first time through. I'm going to loosen it up a little bit more, I think, and then we can start looking at getting this cam seal out. Alright, so I've loosened the rocker assembly bolts another couple turns. I'm going to try to pry this up a little bit and be very, very careful here with this. Okay, I can see there's a bit of a gap back here. That's what I want to have happen more than anything, is to have a gap back there so I can get this cam plug out. Let's see if I can get it out now. Alright, so I was able to get the cam plug out the back. I've got probably, I want to say, about a 1/4 inch of space. And so what may happen is it may get stuck to the rocker assembly, and then you'll have to kind of push it down to snap it loose and then pull it out the back. Here is our new one. Compare the two, you can see how much this one's flattened out a little bit. This little ridge here is flattened out. So this is our new one. I'm going to put that in now. Alright, so I'm going to put everything back together now. I need to put some sealant around the cap here. So I don't have any Honda Bond, that's what I would normally use, so I'm going to use Permatex Ultra Gray. I've used this before, works perfectly just fine. I'm going to try my best to get some sealant back over here on the end, underneath the rocker assembly on both ends, under here, and also on this side. So I've got a card here, and I'm going to put some of the sealant on the end and try to slide it underneath that rocker assembly and see what happens. As I'll demonstrate later, what worked really well was to add sealant on both sides of the card, slide it in under the rocker assembly, contacting the cylinder head, then brush the top side of the card on the underside of the rocker assembly on the way out. Let's see here, put a little bit on this end. Hopefully that's enough. I'm on the bottom side of it too. So I've got sealant on both sides. I'm going to slide this up there now. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I need to put some sealant around the cap now. Okay, so I'm going to put that in back there in the back. See if I can contort myself to get this in there. There we go, that's in. So now, quickly, we need to reverse the process and start tightening these bolts down. We've got about 5 minutes with that sealant before it starts to harden up. So I'm going to do that now. So it's just a reverse of the removal or the loosening. So you're going to start in the center instead of starting on the outside. You'll start in the center and start tightening those down 2 turns at a time. Okay, so I'm going to start down here. Number 1, do this by hand first. Alright, so I'm going to continue on tightening these down. In the last step I'll show, we'll torque everything down, and that should be it. Alright, so I'm going to tighten down all the bolts to the proper torque spec. And so I've got a 3/8 inch torque wrench and a 1/2 inch. I could have used a 1/4 inch and 3/8. That's what I would have preferred to use, but I don't have the proper sockets and extensions, so I'm going to use 3/8 and 1/2 inch. So this is a 10 millimeter. This one has the 12 millimeter on it. This one's going to tighten down to 8.7, or in my case I'm going to call it 9 foot-pounds. The spec in the manual is 8.7, and then this one is set at 16 foot-pounds. Start with the first one down here in the center. And I think what I'm going to do also, I'm going to go back and check all these 12 millimeters. I'm going to check those with the 3/8 just to make sure they're tightened down correctly. The last step is to clean up the exhaust manifold and follow the steps in the linked videos for reinstalling the valve covers. And that's it. Alright, so there you have it. There's replacing the rear cam plugs on the Acura RL. And as you saw, I took a shortcut here, and hopefully those O-rings between the cylinder head and the rocker assembly hold up. If those start to leak, then I'm going to have to remove the timing belt from the cam pulleys, remove the rocker assemblies, and take those O-rings out and replace them. So hopefully this information was helpful, and thanks for watching.